Welcome to another episode of Money You Should Ask. I'm your host, Bob Wheeler, and in this episode, we're going to explore, question, examine, converse, dig deep, expose, laugh, and cry about the money beliefs, money blocks, and life challenges of our next guest. Turn up the volume, listen, learn, and laugh. I'd like to thank our sponsor, The Money Nerve, a financial resource that helps you have a healthier relationship with money. Do you feel shame around your past financial decisions? Do you feel alone in your financial struggles? Do you self-sabotage your potential financial successes? Do you keep making the same choices, expecting different results? The Money Nerve has just launched a new online course called The Course to Financial Freedom. To learn more, go to themoneynerve.com/course. The Money Nerve has an offer to all Money You Should Ask listeners for a 25% discount on the course. Use code MYSA, all caps, 25, and start your course to financial freedom now. Today's guest is actually, it's one of those hybrids, which I love because I'm a hybrid. He's an actor, voiceover artist, and also has his own company, installing and selling water systems, which is actually also very interesting. He's been on Mad Men. He's done voiceover for Lexus, O.J. Simpson story. It was in Hot in Cleveland.
Yes.
Hot in Cleveland.
That's right.
Please give it up for Roger Rignack.
Thank you.
Who I'm happy to have you here. Now, I believe we met years and years and years ago doing stand-up comedy.
We go way back, yeah, because I did stand-up at the Comedy Store.
When I was 7. Just to...
yeah. And I was 3, whatever.
There we go.
And you were downtown. You were
oh my gosh.
You were on First Street,
I was down on First Street.
First Street, yeah. So that was, I remember it was like some, yeah.
I had a loft in the Arts District, yeah.
In fact, I was through Comedy Store. They said, well, and I had a guy that used to do my accounting in New York. I had moved out here from New York, and then I was looking for a tax guy, and I was at the Comedy Store, and I said, well, how about the guy that does taxes for the Comedy Store? I'm like, good enough for me.
That works. And it's been a joke ever since.
Yeah, I've owed money ever since. No,
there you go. Exactly. We try.
It's been great. It's been great. You've been amazing.
Well, one of the things that I find interesting with your story, or at least the way I make your story, is that you've sort of done everything. You've fueled your passion for acting and voiceover and always being creative. I think at one point you were recording voiceover stuff. You'd created a little studio in your closet. And
I was doing audiobooks too.
You were doing audiobooks, and you were always looking for ways to, how do I keep doing what I love?
Yeah.
And then still find ways to bring in money when doing what we love doesn't pay so much.
Right.
And so, tell me about how that, the journey into acting and then learning how to find that balance.
Well, acting for me started when I was really young. It was New York. I was as a kid, I was used to pretend I was stuck in quicksand for the family because I saw it in a movie once. And they said, oh, look at Roger. He looks like he's stuck in mud. And I would try to get out of it was my parents' home. And then I would do a lot of imitations. I did, growing up, I did Nixon, and I thought I was a little Rich Little. And then I went to high school performing arts in New York. We shot Fame. I was in that film when I was senior year in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I went to Emerson in Boston and did 17 shows in 4 years. And I'd always just loved it. And then moved back to New York. I drove a limousine at night so I could be free, again, seeing a lot of New York City at night, driving a limo, and then keeping my days free for auditions. If I booked a gig, I could leave. It's always been my whole life, even to this day, has been work, passion, but there's no feeling I have like being on a set and working with being creative and working on a film or on a TV show. It's like, wow, this is what I want to do. This is where I belong. Even though I love Life Source, it's been
a life source.
It's been a life source. Yeah, because I've been up and down, and right before Life Source, it was not pretty. So, yeah. But this has been, a blessing. So I'm very grateful. So
no, that's cool. I did have the thought of when you said you were stuck in quicksand with your family. I was thinking that was the story. I was thinking that was the story of my life. That's probably why nothing ever took off. But That's another story.
Yeah.
But so I'm glad you made it away from.
Yeah. I finally got out of that
got
quicksand.
out of the quicksand.
I broke free.
And on to bigger things.
Yeah.
But so you worked on Hot in Cleveland, which is Betty White.
Yes.
So like that has to be awesome.
Oh no, it was phenomenal. It was like I worked like a whole week on that show with like Valerie Bertinelli and the British lady from Frasier.
I know.
Several
Her.
people. Yeah, her. Betty White. I mean, the other one from the radio show. Anyway, there was a lot of. It was a
lot of famous people that you might not know their
that I
name.
don't know the name of.
Yeah.
I'm really good at this. And it was like sitting, and we would do. It was rehearsing the whole week. It was just kind of one of those surreal moments, and it was like a sitcom in front of a live audience. So it was like a play, and I grew up in the theater, and I was doing basically a play in front of. But Betty White is just a thrill to work with. I mean, she had been, she's basically an icon, and Valerie Bertinelli. And the first thing I asked her is like, I had seen One Day at a Time taped years ago, back in '84, and I came out to California for the first time. And I remember sitting next to my closest friend. We drove out here, and the cast comes out, and they go, "Does anybody have any questions for the cast?" And he's like, "You're the actor. Go ahead, act." I'm like, "I don't want to." And he raises my hand, and I go, "Oh, now I got to reason." And she goes, "Yes, sir. What's your question?" I go, "My question's for Valerie Bertinelli," and I didn't know what to say. And I go, "Is Eddie Van Halen here?" And the whole audience is like, "That's the best you could do? That's your question?" And she goes, "Well, he dropped me off. I suppose he's going to pick me up." And my friend's like, "Dude, she's talking to you." I'm like, "But really, did you have to make me do that?" So years later, I'm working with her.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, should I bring that up? I go, nah. But she was really sweet. Betty White was a doll.
So you didn't bring it up?
I didn't bring it up.
Oh man.
I should have. And I thought about it, and I thought, because I remember her reaction was not, she wasn't very...
Now, is she still with Eddie Van Halen?
No, apparently not.
So he wasn't going to drop her off.
She wasn't. I guess she dropped her off, and at this point, he's never going to pick her up.
He didn't come back.
Yeah, she's on her own now. She's got an Uber.
Oh man, that's funny. So were your parents supportive? So obviously you went to the High School Performing of Arts. So your parents had to be somewhat supportive.
Very supportive, and they were not like, nobody in my family is in the arts at all or entertainment. I was like the pioneer out of my family. We have like workers and business people and lawyers and things like that, but nobody in the arts. My parents were always, they were God rest their soul, they're both up in heaven, but they went to every play if they could. They went to every screening. They drove up. We flew up to the Montreal Film Festival for a film I did, Friends and Enemies, that I thought was going to be the big thing. It was with Dean Stockwell. I had the lead. There were so many close times where I thought, this is the one.
This is it.
This is going to break me through. And it's like, oh, so close. But
most of them just broke me. But
almost. Yeah, exactly. But they were, absolutely. They never unwavering, just unconditional support.
Well, it's, obviously words are so important. I love that you said that you were a pioneer. Right? In my family, I think we use black sheep. So I like.
It's kind of how you look at it. It's all relative.
I love that you put a positive spin on somebody going into the creative arts.
Yeah.
But like, and did you? I know you've got a kid. Does your wife currently support, like, hey, that's great, do that, or just make money selling?
Absolutely. And there was a period of time, I'd say back in 05, 08, somewhere in there, where I kind of left acting for a little while. I was at CBS Radio. I kind of was going through the ranks. I was the retail sales manager, overseeing 7 radio stations. Again, kind of related to my business. I would do voiceovers on the air. And then I wanted to get back into it. It was not, when it's inside you, especially from youth, it's not something that leaves you. And there was a pit in my stomach. I said, I'm not completely satisfied. And she's like, you should go back. She was the first one that said, you should go back. I called my old commercial agent. I go, I know it's been years. They're like, come in, let's talk. And then it started again. And then I was back on that train. And I go, thank God. My son has been, he's at USC, so that's partly why I have to have a job.
Oh, there you go.
Because that ain't cheap.
Yeah.
So he's finishing up his junior year, but he's been like, he'll razz me.
Yeah.
He'll razz me. He's like, he saw me on Dexter, and I was in a strip club. He's like, that must have been hard, because a bunch of naked women are dancing around me, and I'm in a strip club, and my wife didn't like that all too much. But anyway, he'll razz me, but to me, he'll kind of like, as a son would, he kind of gives me a little shit about it. But then he'll show his friends. He's like, here's my dad. Look at my dad. He was on this show or that show, and that's my dad. So outside, like away from me, he
It's
talks
cool.
about, it's like I have to hear from others. Like, my dad's like, check this out. He was on this network or that or film. But to me, he's like, well, what are you playing, a mobster again?
Big stretch.
Yeah, big deal. What, he kill somebody?
And you also, if I remember, bilingual?
I am fluent in Spanish. My parents were Cuban.
Okay.
They were both from Cuba, but they met in New York. That's where I was born.
Does that also make you Cuban, or are you just still
Yeah,
Anglo?
it depends. Whatever serves me.
Whatever.
If somebody says, are you Hispanic? I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm
course.
Cuban. Are you Anglo? Yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
like whatever you want me to be.
I can be it.
If this gets me the role or the sale, I'm whatever you want me to be.
Wow, so your parents were Cuban, and
Cuban.
Were they immigrants?
Yeah, my dad was born in a little town called Oriente. My mom from La Habana. Lineage is Greek, Italian, French, kind of Mediterranean, Turkish. So I've got a lot of that lineage in that Mediterranean world, but mostly Cuban. Cuban.
Wow.
I'm kind of a mutt.
There you go. But I would imagine being bilingual opens a few extra doors.
No question about it. I've performed in Spanish. I've done voiceovers in Spanish. And now also at LifeSource, because, we live in Los Angeles, a lot of times the Spanish-speaking customers or the leads that come in will come to me.
Wow.
Because I can speak Spanish. I even get them outside of this state. So we have offices like Texas and Florida, and people with a lot of, Hispanic neighborhoods, and they farm them out to me, and then I'll help translate and kind of sell the system from afar. So yeah, it's been, being from New York and living in Los Angeles, knowing Spanish has been incredibly helpful.
That's
in
awesome.
every walk of life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, you said that you've been up and you've been down, and it wasn't so great before LifeSource. Like, what kept you going, and what are things that you learned when it was down?
You learn a lot about yourself, your character, and you're willing to. His wife was incredibly supportive even during those times. And she said, this isn't forever. This is temporary. I don't even think she was my wife at the time, but she was very just in my corner, because it was like, it's just been so cyclical.
Yeah.
Like my days with CBS Radio. Before that, it was I was at a clinical trial. I was heading up the advertising I was there for 12 years, and I kind of raised up the ranks, got promotions, did the whole corporate ladder kind of thing. Then I went to CBS Radio. Same thing happened. Became a manager pretty quickly. I was amongst, we'd have stars come in and do interviews on the Wave or Jack FM or K-Rock. We'd have bands come in. It was really cool. And kind of raised the ranks there. After that, I went into my own business, something I kind of dreamed of, having my own business, which I do now. And that's when things started to, no fault of anyone. It was a sign of the times. I think it was also, I think 2008 was the big crash. So hard time to have your own business, and it was just rock bottom. And I was like, Jesus, I've hit, pretty harsh times. And after that, it was funny, because it was out of working in the advertising field that I got reconnected with LifeSource, because LifeSource was a client at CBS Radio.
Ah, okay.
And I got reconnected. We were pitching a TV deal, and I was like, no, we're not interested. And one of the owners goes, look, we're not going to do TV, but why don't you join us? I said, what? Why don't you come work for LifeSource? And I'm like, I wasn't happy. Things weren't working out right. And I go, what do you got? And my wife, who is 1,000%, she has to know how much she makes. She's a salary person. I don't want this,
Right.
This was 100% commission job. And I went to her and she goes, take it. And I said, you've heard what I said, right? It's 100% commission. There might be a base, like a draw for the first 3 months to get me off my feet, After that, I'm on my own. She says, I feel good about it. And I tell people to this day, if she hadn't said that, I wouldn't be there. And that has literally changed my life.
Wow.
And, I mean, it's been
good.
Good. Yeah.
It's been good. So let me ask you this. As an adult, what financial baggage have you brought from childhood that you still might be holding on to? Like maybe a belief or a phrase or a mantra that might not fully serve you?
Save, but not in a way like save for rainy day. Like don't spend. Like hold on to your money. I think as a kid I was taught like hold on, don't spend it. And even if you see something you want, don't necessarily get it because it's better to have the money. And even to the point of not investing. So it took me a while to get to that point where, let's take a risk. Even though my father kind of did some of that, but I was always a little weary of like, I should put it in the bank and never really. In my adult life, I'm like, I don't want to live like that anymore. I don't want. If I see something I really want, I don't want to go. Oh, why suffer? If I want it, get it. Not frivolously. I'm not going to just spend money on it like it's not like it's growing on trees. But that's what it was like. Hold on to it. Don't spend it all. Be careful with it. Not saying to be reckless, but I think like now I'm investing more. Mm-hmm. And if there is something truly that I want, I'm like, I'm going to get it. I don't get a whole lot. So it's not, I don't even buy clothes. I mean, I have to get forced to shop. So
yeah, there you go. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, spending money on clothes is overrated. I'm frugal.
It's got to be on sale.
I'm frugal. Exactly. What piece of advice do you give your son around money? Is there something that you tried to parlay to him?
It's funny because we're talking a lot about that, and he has, in a very young age, talk about investment. He came to me and he's like, "What stocks? What's good? What's an ETF?" Like he's hearing about all this stuff, and he wants to. I mean, he's a business major at USC, so he's already thinking in those terms, and he wants. By 35, he wants to drive a Ferrari. I'm like, these millennials, you gotta love it.
Oh yeah, gotta love it. Rent it. Or
he wants to retire by 36.
Okay, yeah.
Have a beautiful mansion, whatever. Yeah. So I'm like, look, I hope it happens. Yeah. Truly, I mean, I would love it. But I think we talk now about, he asked me questions and I feel like I have to learn and I want to be a resource for him. So I want to go out and learn about, what's good. I wish I could give him that golden nugget, like, drop this money on this stock, it's going to make you millions. I wish I could do that. But just knowing, saving, but also investing. So we're talking a lot about investments and in whether it's mutual funds or stocks or things like that. And we talk about what might be the next big thing and so forth. So, and using his degree moving forward, I think he's probably done with school after USC, although he wants to maybe explore a graduate degree, but I think he wants to get out in the real world now for a little while.
I think it's commendable that you actually want to be a resource. Mm-hmm. My response would have been Google it. Find out yourself.
Yeah. And he does. He does.
I'm busy.
Yeah.
No, so I think that's awesome that you're like, I want to know that stuff too.
Yeah.
What was the best piece of financial advice you ever got?
Well, that's a good question. Invest, even if you don't think you're ready for it, even if you don't think you know enough. Pay yourself first before you pay others.
Okay.
I think maybe that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the least favorite thing you'd like to spend money on?
This is the wrong answer to answer on this room, right? Taxes.
Oh, you don't like paying taxes? Oh my gosh, you're the first. I never
heard that before.
Never heard that before. Most people love to pay their taxes. They're always like, Bob, if you can make me pay an extra $5, like count me in. It's
please.
Karma points.
Yeah.
Karma points.
That and I don't know, maybe car repair.
Car repair.
I'm like, can it just last?
Can it just last? What kind of car do you drive and why?
I drive a Lexus now,
Good choice.
a GS 350. You know, again, I've gone through this metamorphosis in a couple of different levels in my life. One was cars. I used to drive, years ago, it was a Toyota Corolla. And I'd go on sales calls and I go, nah, you know what? I can't drive too nice a car because they're going to think I'm doing too well. And they're going to think I don't need their business.
Right.
That was my thinking. And then I got a little better at Camry, this and that. And then recently, two people, the most influential people in my life now that my parents are gone, is my wife and my son. And my wife goes, if you drive up in a nice car, it's going to say you're successful. Right. It's not going to say you don't need their business. It's going to say you're doing so well. I go, oh, I got to flip my thinking. And same thing with Daniel, my son. He goes, what? He goes, if you drove up in a nice car, I'd be like, whoa, that guy's doing something right. And between those two, they like flip my head 180, and I go, oh. And now I drive up to a house, and if somebody says, nice Lexus, I'm like, yeah, well, you know, I do pretty well. Life Source, the system you need.
Right.
You know?
Well, that's interesting you say that because I drove a Toyota Corolla, but my favorite car was my pickup truck.
Oh.
And when I worked for an accounting firm, they would say, could you stop driving a pickup truck? You're sort of embarrassing us. I'm like, well, I am a hick from Tennessee. And they're like, yeah, but you live in LA. Please stop it. Right. But so I thought, well, but I'm frugal. People will appreciate that I'm frugal. And apparently not in LA. And somebody said the same thing to me. If you were to drive a nice car, people would actually treat you differently and actually think, you know, oh, he's successful, which I didn't believe. So I went around to all my wealthier clients and said, hey, would it make a difference if I drove a Corolla or a Mercedes? Every single client said, if I thought you drove a Corolla, you would not be my accountant.
Really?
And
there you go.
Oh, I drive a Mercedes. So I ended up getting a Mercedes, and it was amazing how people treated me. My biggest thing was I didn't want a Mercedes because I didn't want to tip the extra $2 they expected.
Oh, this guy drives a Mercedes.
He drives a Mercedes. Give me
this
$5.
is what he can afford it.
So that was my thinking.
Yeah.
Sadly, but so it really does for a lot of people. What you drive says.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Even if you don't. I used to be of the mindset. Maybe it was my New York upbringing when I didn't even have a car, and I used to use mass transit. Because that's why you got a car. It's a pain in the ass because there's no parking. If there is, it's $20 every 2 seconds. You know, it's like it's stupid. Out here, it is. You know, I think to myself, if I'm looking for a house and my realtor pulls up and it's, you know, I don't know, just not or if he or she drives up in a nice car, oh, they know what they're doing. It's immediate, even if it's subconscious. So I had to really change. Now I'm on the other way. Plus, I spend so much time in my car. I want something comfortable and something reliable. So, you know, it's
Did you ever, being in LA, I know this is true for some of my clients, not all my clients, but a lot of my clients can't really afford that nice car, and they can't really afford the rent or the house that they're in, but they're presenting in a way of, let me present how successful I am. And inside they're like, holy crap, I hope I can make the mortgage this week.
Right.
Or I hope they don't repossess my car. I haven't paid it in 4 months. Did you ever get caught up in the LA, I need to present a certain way?
I didn't for a long, long time. And I think it was probably my New York upbringing of like, I don't give a crap what people think about me. Yeah. You know? But living in LA since 91 now, I'm kind of giving a crap.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, yeah. And then everybody else has to, you know, I hope I'll never get to that point where, oh, they have a pool, I have to have an Olympic-sized pool, and then I have to have the tennis courts, and I have to, I hope I never get to that point. But yeah, a little bit, you know, but not to the point where it's like, I'll tell you one thing. The only none of this really bothers me. There's one thing that bothers me. My wife knows this. If I see somebody I know or I've worked with, and they got a lead on a series or a lead in a movie, I'm like, why him? He sucked. He sucked in acting class or when I went to school. Why him? Yeah. You know, that's the only thing. Other than that, I really don't care. You know, It doesn't matter to me. But I do like to live at least a decent life, a good life. Cars has, you know, I'll never probably go under where I am right now. It'll be that or better.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think growing up in the South, growing up in a small town, for me, like that wasn't something you worried about because
Right.
we're all from a small town. We
don't care.
We're all off the radar for anybody. But once the car thing sort of was made so explicitly clear to me that people judged, I remember going to a couple when I had a rough patch because I was like, oh, I'll just do stand-up comedy. It'll pay all the bills. And, who needs the accounting part? Yeah.
That worked out well.
Okay, let's do some tax returns. And, but so it got really tight and I had this really crappy Mazda and I would literally park down the street so nobody would see my crappy car because I was so embarrassed because I was a CPA and all this stuff, but I'm a CPA, but like trying to make money doing stand-up. Yeah. And so I would park a few blocks away and just go, oh, I walked.
Right. Yeah. I just walked over here. I like walking. I like taking a stroll.
Yeah, I'm just being healthy.
Yeah, I'm being healthy. Yeah. I know, it's true. I've done that. Yeah, I've done that when I had the older car. I parked around the corner. Where's your car? Oh, it's down there. I just like to, walk to my appointments. No, I don't.
So if you had a piece of advice, a financial piece of advice for a person just graduated high school, college, getting ready to go off and be an actor, do voiceover, follow their passion, what would you say to them?
Follow your passion, follow your dream, work hard at it. But yeah, of course, you may not work consistently to pay your bills right away, so you would have to find something, but find something else that you like and in the hours, but don't let that be the dominant force. And get involved in network and get involved in groups that can help you. Obviously, if it's an actor, I'm going to say take an acting class. They probably already did. Train so you can get some strong footing underneath you, and you also meet people. Take classes, network, get an agent. Start to, the whole process, and get something. If you just do that and you have without a net, then sometimes you get too nervous and then you might leave too soon. It's okay to have something else so you can still continue your passion. Get your living arrangements set up. Get your apartment or your whatever. Get your vehicle if it's here. Get your job so you don't feel like you're, suspended in air. Just kind of live so you don't, and then you don't look desperate when you go into an audition. That's the last. They smell desperation. So
they do.
You're like a dog in heat, and they're like, I don't want that.
Yeah, no, not today.
Off my leg, please.
Yeah, another time.
You got to come in like, if I get it, and I think that's why I booked Mad Men years ago, because I was interviewing for a job at ESPN Radio, which is another passion of mine, is sports. And I was so focused on ESPN, and my agent calls and says, you got an audition for Mad Men. I'm like, what time? He goes, 4:30. I'm like, shit, I got the interview at ESPN at 3:30. Normally, I'd be like, holy crap. And it was a nice role. But it was more like a pain in the ass. The only reason I went is because ESPN was by Staples Center, and it was down on Bixel, was the studio that we were shooting. So it was both downtown. I went, okay, I'll go. And I really it was just like, I'll go because you're sending me.
Right.
That's the only reason. And I showed up, and Matt Weiner, the executive producer, at that time, I didn't even know who the hell that was. The creator, it was like a row of people. It was before tapes. It was like, and I went in there and I didn't really, I was like, are we done? Because because the guy from ESPN might be calling. And an hour later, they're like, you booked Mad Men. I'm like, really? But did the ESPN guy call? And it was like, it was just surreal. So
I think that's true. I think that's true.
Yeah.
And if there were one thing from where you are at this point in your life, if there were one thing financially that you could hone or do a little bit better or do differently, what would it be?
Well, I wish I could have multiple properties. I think more involved in real estate. I think if I really had to choose something, that's my next financial goal.
Cool.
Is to try and get involved in real estate more.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of our time here, but what I'm hearing is like, sort of in the advice you were giving to a young person is like get your living situation set up.
Mm-hmm.
Like follow your passion, don't let it go, but like really get yourself set up. Like even if there's a small support net, you know, a net to catch you, a safety net.
Right.
Like that's okay. You don't have to you don't have to. Yeah, some people go, I have no plan B, but it's okay if you're, I've got a little bit of a safety net so I don't fall so hard.
Right.
And that the other thing I really heard was that like when you get into a rough patch, it's just temporary.
Mm-hmm.
Like it will eventually move behind you.
Yeah.
And that you can move forward.
Yeah. The mind's a powerful thing. And if you let if you let the negativity, it's just a snowball. So you got to just go. That's just, I always use sports analogies. Everybody goes through a slump, but they get out. The great ones get out of it somehow.
And the rest get traded.
And and now we have no sports, so everybody sucks.
Or you'll play the minor leagues, but community theater. No. Okay, I'm sorry, community theater. Where can people find you on social media?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn, IMDb. I'm really easy to find. Put my name, Roger Rignack, in Google, and I got a whole ton of stuff. I'm on all of them.
So if you need a voiceover, you need an actor, or you need some filtered water,
I'm your guy.
Give him a call. All right. Well, don't forget to share the love. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Search for Money You Should Ask, all one word. You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast player. Until next time, thanks. And Roger, thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Really good.